This episode of Underground Reggie is brought to you by the IamMen.com. Music, sports, and entertainment news from IamMen Media. Follow the IamMen on Instagram at IamMen.media. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was an influential composer of the classical era. Composing over more than 600 pieces of work, Mozart was a pioneer of symphonic, concertate, chamber, piano, operatic, and choral music. On today's episode of Underground Reggie, we take a look at the life of Mozart. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019, and I'm your host, Rico Banks. Mozart, who is one of the most popular classical composers, stood out during his early childhood as he showed his musical ability. Born January 27, 1756, in Salzburg, Austria, Mozart was already composing music at the age of 5, having wrote a miniature Andante and Allegro. One of two surviving children, Wolfgang and his sister Maria Anna, both possessed musical abilities. Their father Leopold was a minor composer to the court orchestra of the Archbishop of Salzburg and a teacher. In 1762, Leopold took Wolfgang and Maria Anna on a tour, performing for nobles and ambassadors throughout Vienna. The next year, they began a 3.5-year tour throughout France, Switzerland, England, Germany, and other countries, thus beginning a long musical career for Mozart, as he composed music all the way up until his death in 1791. At 17, Mozart was already engaged as a court musician in Salzburg, Austria, but he grew restless and began to search for a better position. Mozart was dismissed from his Salzburg position in Austria while he was in Vienna, visiting in 1781. Even though Vienna provided little financial security, Mozart chose to stay there. Coming up next, we look deeper into the life of Mozart, here on Underground Reggie. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. While in Vienna, Mozart composed many of his best-known symphonies, concertos, operas, and portions of the Requiem, which was still unfinished at the time of his death. Upon death, Mozart was survived by his wife Constantine and 2 sons. The circumstances of Mozart's early death have been much mythologized, but it is said that he died of an acute fever. Of the 41 symphonies that Mozart wrote, only 2 are in the minor key, both of which are in G minor, Symphony 25 and Symphony 40. While Mozart's music was often criticized for being too complex and having too many notes, Mozart also was known to take familiar music lines from one piece of music and insert them into another piece of music. Amid the many tours, Mozart wrote music for a number of occasions. In 1770, when Mozart was 14, he was commissioned to write an opera for the upcoming December. He began work on the opera in October, and after 8 rehearsals, the show was performed on December 26th. The show featured several ballets from other composers and lasted around 6 hours. The opera was a huge success, to much of his father Leopold's surprise, and was performed over more than 22 more times. In 1777, Mozart left Austria with his mother to search for a better paying job. Mozart's travels led him to Paris, where his mother became deathly ill and eventually passed. Mozart's search to find a better job failed, and he returned to Austria 2 years later. While back in Austria, Mozart continued working in the court as an organist and was offered an increase in salary, as well as a generous leave, as he was dismissed in 1781. In July of 1782, Mozart married Constantine Weber, despite his father's disapproval. In 1787, Mozart's father died. Deeply affected by his father's passing, Mozart himself died in 1791. Thanks for listening to another episode of Underground Reggie. I'm your host, Rico Banks. Make sure you follow the I Am In on Instagram at iamn.media. We'll be back for another episode soon. Stay tuned.